Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm setting up the recording stuff. So.
Awesome. Everybody's David.
Hi.
Oh, that's a terrible thing to hear on an echo.
Well, we're not echoing anymore because we are live. Hello. My name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver. Welcome to Triple T number 29, July 19th, 2022. We've made it 29 of these sessions. Woo! Wow. Yes. Yeehaw! If this is your first time joining in or watching a recording, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and all the good stuff, and share this with all your friends. Also, I keep forgetting, I'll let you guys know early, if we have not worked with each other before, you are eligible for a free 30-minute consultation where you can just do whatever you want with 30 minutes and ask me questions. And if you've got something you would like to work on, we can figure out if we're a good fit for each other. And if we're not, I will do my best to find you the person who is, because life is too short to be going around with issues. Hold on, I'm going to adjust this light a little bit. I'm doing some other work there. There, now I don't look so much like a horror film. What a week. Here we are. How have you guys been? I usually like to start off the hour with seeing if there were any ahas, epiphanies, things that people would like to share since 7 days ago. So anybody want to share anything? Holly already shared with me that she's still having some issues with her camera, so we get to look at the family picture, which is awesome.
It's a pretty picture.
Yes. So that's, no, everything's good. We just floating around. I've had an interesting week, been a busy one, but for those of you that are working in the industry, I ain't gonna lie, it's an interesting roller coaster ride of meeting people, and kind of like Forrest Gump, life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And I had an emergency call from the clinic to see if I was available to work with a client who was suicidal. And my answer was, yes, I am. And yeah, they had already written out their suicide note and everything. Figured out how they were going to do it. And they had happened to watch a couple of Dr. David Snyder's videos and caught the phone number and reached out as a last ditch attempt. And yes, my half-hour consult went a little long, about 2.5 hours. But it was worth the investment to watch this person basically utilize the suicide note as the death of their old self. And decide that it was time. That was rock bottom. And I think I caught him off guard just a little bit, because they're like, and I've got the suicide note right here. And I'm like, awesome. That is so awesome. They're like, oh, did you hear me right? I mean, I didn't say love note. I said, the fact that you've got the suicide note, that you are that close, would you consider this to basically be rock bottom? Like, well, yeah. Well, good, because once you hit rock bottom, what destination is left? Which direction do you have left to go? Up? Yeah. So in the end, I had them date and time stamp that suicide note, and I said, you don't have to show anybody else. Put it somewhere where you know it is, and you've got the date on it, because today is the day your old life died, and you get to live like you were dying, and you get to do and be whoever the hell you want to be. Because had you not reached out, you wouldn't have had that option. And they said that they had an aunt who found out that she had stage 4 cancer. And the oncologist was like, well, you know, we can start, bless you, we can start chemo, you know, right away and get to working on this. And they said, their aunt goes, wait a minute, so you're telling me I have stage 4 cancer, which means I've got a couple of months to live at best, and you want me to be sick and miserable for those last couple of months? You know, I don't think so. I think I'm good. You know what? I think I've got some living to do while I'm still alive. And the family thought she was a little nutsoid, but she went out and slammed a 2-ton brick down on the gas pedal and lived life full throttle. Went to concerts and ate out and had fun and went dancing. And the only time she really suffered, I guess, was like the last 2 days. And I think it had to do a lot with the fact where she was just like, I'm going to have fun. I am going to laugh and live and do whatever the bleep I want to do. And if you don't like it, it ain't going to matter, because in a couple of months, it won't matter anyway. Leave me alone or have fun with me. You get those two options. And so I used that with that client, and I said, well, what if you'd have gotten the same information? Would that suicide note have a different feel to it? They said, wow, yeah. I said, didn't live. 66 years old. I said, with today's technology and all the stuff we know, you potentially have 30 years left. What are you going to do for 30 years? Live. Redesign your castle. Redecide who your tribe is. Who gets inside the castle walls now? And just because they're blood family or old friends, they can still be on the kingdom grounds. But that doesn't necessarily they get to come inside the city walls. And if they're nice and well behaved, they may get in the city walls, but they sure as heck don't get to come into the castle. And if they plead and beg and promise to be good, they might get to see the inside of the castle. But that doesn't mean that they get to come into the great room and sit at the table. and they don't get to see the great view from the top turret because that's for special people only. Life's too short. Life's damn long. We all know that. There are days that seem like they go for a week, and there are months that seem like they never end. But when it comes down to it, I'm sure that most of us have heard the whole thing about, you know, when they interview all the old people in the retirement homes. You know, if you could change something, what would you change? And most of them are, I'd go out and do more stuff. I'd have more fun. I wouldn't worry about getting overtime in. I'd worry less about what people thought because I found out they weren't thinking anyway. So, how's that for a nice welcome to Triple T? Thanks for joining in. But I hope that had some resonance, and we can all help somebody, especially those of you that are tuning into this type of stuff. We have that gift, which, as we know, some of us, is a double-edged sword, which is why if you decided to tune in or watch this because of what you saw in my Facebook post, some of the stuff that I put up for today was the cost of venting and complaining. And some people are like, oh, oh. But it's especially the cost to empaths who, you know, have you guys ever had somebody that complained and vented around you and put their energy on you, and they're like, thanks for taking all this sucky energy. I feel much better now. And they're off having a wonderful day, and you're left going, but, and then you got this squirrel thing running around, and you're thinking of all these different things, and you just want to track them down and just smack them in the forehead because now they're having a great day, and just go, I don't want this, take this back. And that's where, especially for empaths, we need to figure out how to deal with these types of energies and what to do when they get dumped on us, how to process it, how to properly take care of it. So I'm curious, do you guys have any input, questions, ahas, insights that you would like to share with the group on stuff like this? Because I know that if you've been alive for more than 6 months on this planet, you've most likely dealt with an energy vampire or those type of people that just love to complain and vent and dump, and then they're all better. Yes.
I'll share. One thing that I noticed is especially the people that are closest to you. So if you're always kind and you're always like, oh, I'll listen to you, you have to really be careful because it can hit you much harder, especially when they're closer to you. What I started to do was taper the conversations that I had to have with these people. And I made sure I was properly lined up if I was going to have a conversation with them. Sorry. But also I will go as far to lower the volume, and I will only use one earbud to help keep it further away if I need to, depending on what it is. And I will also shorten the conversation just because they're that strong and quickly, rapidly trying to dump. And you just have to line certain things up. There's knowing when to be able to understand it and move it beyond you, and knowing, you know what, I don't have the space for this right now and I can't take that on. That's what I've learned over 2 years.
Right?
There you go.
Yes, Francine.
With my daughter, I have to set boundaries, and now she asks, "Mom, do you have this? Is it okay if I dump on you?" And so sometimes I say, "Well, maybe not right now, maybe later. Let me get prepared." So what I do is it's like I'm wearing a Teflon coat. Just pretend, I put it on, and I say, "Okay, your turn." It just flips. So it doesn't stick. I find that helps me personally. And when I'm not prepared for it, I found showers or just doing a quick cleansing technique or something like that with color or personally, yeah. But I find this, if you put barriers up and let people know, hey, it's okay to talk to me. It's just I'm not always in the space to have the discussion, so that they're not just dumping on you all the time. I think hard discussions are important, but that's personal.
Well, and I love your use of the Teflon. That was one of the things that from identity management class that I teach is, when you're designing your different masks, yeah, you can definitely Teflon coat a couple of them because that is very useful. And I hate it when my human side pops out. There are times I would much rather be a robot, because I've had a few people, and yes, just like you, that and Lenora, you are completely correct. Family and friends. We'll just pause for a moment to let that energy flow through. Because I've had a couple of them, literally, I literally had to get in their face and go, look, you do this again, done. I'm blocking you from my phone number. I can't, I'm done, because you call me up or you leave me these messages because you're having a bad hour, but you're going to milk it for a day. And you're going to call me up and complain about everything you can about me or your day. And then you're just like that puppy dog that felt bad because it needed to take a dump, took a dump on the lawn, and then he's all, I'm all better now. And yet I'm walking through everything you dumped on my lawn in my head. And because I'm a professional reframer, I will have a conversation with you 72 different times an hour, 42 different ways, half of which I smack you in the forehead with a shovel. And I almost feel better. The only problem is I know that you didn't feel it. And a couple of times I've had to do three-chair therapy. And if you don't know what three-chair therapy is, you can sign up for my class. We've also discussed it in a few of the other triple T's. So feel free, or reach out to me. Go to my website, theTSWB.com. That's right, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. Now you know what it stands for. Ta-da! But Lenora raised her hand.
This is for before I understood what was happening. I used to get really cold. So if anybody's having any really weird body issues that they don't know where they come from and they just come on rapidly, half my body would go cold. I would shiver so much that I literally had to work out for like 30 minutes. And I'm not talking like, oh, a little one. Like I had to run to break these energy things that were going on in my body, and no doctor could actually explain it. And it just finally started to reveal itself the more I worked with people and understanding energy and how I just happened to be picking it up. So if anybody's having some weird things that go on, you might be picking it up and you have no idea how to deal with it.
Yep.
That's my only food for thought there.
And my way of dealing with it for years actually served me in a way, because when I got angry and was having all those discussions in my head, I would work it out. I would find a project. I would, and people are like, "You're still working? It's 10 o'clock." I'm like, "Yes, because it's easier than going to prison. So I'm going to work on my car. I'm going to build this. I'm going to fix this thing. And yes, it was a way of dealing with it that was still productive, but I had not learned how to process it. All I was doing was taking all the extra fuel and burning it up through activity while having 7,000 rehearsals and different versions of the things that I wanted to say. It's kind of like rehearsing for a film that you never want to make, rehearsing for a movie that you never want to make, because you go through the rehearsal and it's kind of like, and that's a cut, till the producer goes, one more thing. What about if we did it this way? Oh, all over again. So that's my little spin on the costs of venting and complaining, especially for empaths and people with a poor outlook. I know that sometimes, especially for those of us who have worked hard to rework the negative programming that was put into our hard drive from birth, that has been on all hard drive main operating systems since the dawn of caveman. We finally get to where we make positivity our main operating system, but we're swimming around in this ocean of people that still haven't gotten the upgrade and love the worst case scenario, and having to deal with that and maintain our positive outlook and protecting our energy can be a challenge sometimes. Anybody else go through that? Been there, done that, still got scar? Well, but what if it fails? Well, but what if it works out? Well, what do you mean? What if it works out? Well, then I guess it works out. But what if it doesn't? It'll take the same amount of energy for us to get there, because time's going to pass either way. But I've learned that if I anticipate that it will work out, it suddenly has started showing that the more that I expect it to work out, the more it does. And the more certain people expect it to not work out, they seem to have issues with getting it to work out. So I know which bandwagon I want to be on. Anybody got any input on that? That's why I like my little deal of if anybody's ever been to a beautiful arboretum, and if you don't know what that is, that's where they have beautiful flowers from all over the world. And everybody knows that one person that you could bring into the most expansive, beautiful arboretum, like the one in Balboa Park in San Diego. It's huge, huge. Flowers from everywhere. But you got that one person you bring in there, and they would find the first thing they would see, the one weed in the entire building. And they would focus right on that and lose their mind, not even noticing all the beautiful flowers that were around the weed. Yes, Francine.
What about the other way around? The person who just thinks that things are going to fall into their laps, but somehow things are not falling into their laps.
The question I would have there is it their belief system or their activity level?
What if it's both?
If they're over ecstatic about how well the things are going to turn out, but they're not doing anything to get it there.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the person like, well, I got a gym membership, so I'm going to have a 6-pack abs in a month, and they never show up. Well,
they do show up, but not hard enough. Does that make sense? They do a half-ass job.
Yes. Show up and do 5 minutes on a treadmill that's slow. Well, I was in the gym and I saw all these fit people and I paid for my membership and I was there for 45 minutes. Oh yeah, what'd you do? Well, I was on the treadmill for like 5 minutes. At what speed? Well, I don't want to sweat. Then I stink. But if they're thinking that that's what's going to get them the Adonis body, yay for having a positive outlook, B, an F for not understanding how that all works. But like we'd talked before, the difference between lucky and unlucky people has been proven to be mindset. And go ahead.
Sorry.
Which I'm going to use that to segue right into the third thing that I had on the list for today, which is the day planner. I just wrote down day planner of smiles, a day planner. And I would love to say I came up with this idea, but I didn't. And I would love to say that I know who did, but I don't. But whoever did, I'm being honest, I wish it would have been me, and I wish I could remember who came up with it, because it's brilliant. And if all of my clients, I give them this homework. Some do it, some don't. That's on them, but at least it's out there. I have them get a day planner, and I always tell them, it doesn't have to be the big corporate desktop model, or where you got to take two hands to flip over the page. But you want it to be big enough to where you can write in some stuff on each day. The 365-page day planner to me is the best. because then you got a nice full page to be able to write stuff in. And what I tell them is, I want you to keep it by your bed, and at the end of the day, write down a minimum of 3 cool things that you remember from the day. And they don't have to be exotic, like, oh my gosh, I got to watch a baby giraffe being born under a double rainbow and doves flew up and glitter shot out. No. It can be something as simple as walking down the sidewalk and seeing a dandelion growing up from the crack in the cement. And your doomy, gloomy people would be like, ah, it's a frickin' weed. Well, thank you there, Debbie Downer, but you know, that weed had to go through this much cement to get to this much dirt to rise up this far to show you a yellow flower. And some days that's kind of cool. Or it could be walking along and having a hummingbird come down and it stops right in front of you. And for 2.5 seconds, you and that hummingbird, eye to eye, right there. You're just like, hey, and off they go. And you're just like, wow, that was kind of cool. And you start writing that stuff down. And what you're doing is exercising that muscle in your brain to start noticing all of the flowers around you. Like I tell a lot of my clients, my flower garden has weeds, but I water and fertilize my flowers to the point that they are much taller than any weed that's in there. Yes, I can go in and point out a couple of weeds, but they're always going to be there because we're a human living in a human experience in our natural environment. Feces does occur. Sometimes it hits the rotating oscillator and we happen to be standing in the wrong proximity, but that will wash off as well. The fact that you're able to hear this conversation right now means that you have survived 100% of everything life has ever thrown at you. There is not one single thing from your past that you are not stronger than. So if you've survived all that, why not just keep on fertilizing your flowers? One of the coolest stories I ever got from one of my clients was a single mom, 2 kids, 7 and 5, and she got them to do it, and it was part of their nightly routine. She would go in there, and the 5-year-old, of course, is not writing a novel, but he would draw little pictures and things that he remembered. And one night, they hadn't been doing it too long, but she put the kids to bed, went to her bedroom and got in bed, and all of a sudden there's a little knock on her door, and she opens it up, and it's her oldest son. She's like, what's the matter? And he looks at her and he goes, Mom, how come I can only write down 3 things? And she's like, honey, you can write down as much as you want. And he was like, oh, cool. And she said, that kid now hardly ever has a bad day. The stuff that he sees and notices blows her away. And I just talked to her probably about a month ago now, and the kids are like 9 and 7. And she said it hit her hardest when her 9-year-old had his bicycle stolen. And for any 9-year-old, that's pretty traumatic. That is a day. And she said, he goes, well, That sucks. I hope whoever got it will take care of it and that they enjoy it. But you know what else I saw today, Mom? I saw this really cool butterfly. It was awesome. Like it floated right in front of me, and it was browns and oranges and yellows. And then I got to watch it float away. And she goes, he went from my bike got stolen. I hope they take care of it and that they enjoy it. And I saw a cool butterfly. Winning! I wanted to go out and buy the kid a bike. Like, dude, you deserve a better bike. That one was too small, and you're right. I hope that whoever got it takes care of it and they needed it much worse than you did. By the way, awesome butterfly. So, anybody else ever hear of this or done anything like it? Stuff they could, or any comments on
Yeah,
this?
TJ.
Yes.
So basically, it's called the Panda Planner, and the Panda Planner you can get it from the Rocketbook, and I actually have one fill it out. And what it has is that it has a morning routine. You fill out the date.
Hold on,
Um,
hold on. I'm having a hard time hearing you for some reason. I can barely hear you.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Okay. So basically, can you hear me now better?
I'm not sure if it's the
Um,
microphone or if you're too far away from it or if you need to speak low from the back.
Hear me now?
Hey, there we go.
Okay. So basically, it's called the Panda Planner. And the Panda Planner has a date, and one of the inputs you can put in for every day is called meditate. So basically, you put in how much time you meditate. The other thing is called the morning routine. And in the morning routine, you have 3 entries that says what I'm grateful for. The other part of the morning routine is what am I excited about? So you listen to things. And then the evening routines are 3 things, which is called the 2 days one. And
You're cutting out again.
How
I'm
will,
sorry.
okay, and then how I'll improve. And then other than that, it's just the same planner as everything else. Hello, you got it?
I'm so sorry. One, the volume was low, but it kept cutting in and out. Did anybody else catch that? Did a little bit?
I got the majority of it. That I would say like the last 15 seconds, she broke up completely.
So sorry. Just letting you know. See if it was in your settings. And while she's doing that, does anybody else have any input on that? Yes, Francine.
I'm not sure what the English word is for it is, but yeah, I think maybe it's to. I didn't know about the day planner, but I've learned the technique to actually before going to sleep, you're kind of thankful or grateful for things. So you go through your day and you just say thank you for this, and I do. I know as a general rule, I kind of do that. And yes, it does change your mindset. You do see, you know, when you said about the bird, that the bird actually came like this right in front of me in our old house when I did I did some exercises outside and I was meditating, and then I opened my eyes and the bird was, I felt like some slight wind, something in front of my face. And when I opened my eyes, the bird was right there. And I was so shocked that I'd forgotten to breathe. And it's only when it flew away that I realized, oh man, I wasn't breathing. I was just so, you know, it's, but yeah, that was really cool. That was really, really cool. And it was such a beautiful colored bird. It had like some browns and yeah.
How cool is that?
Yes. And it had like a bit of red in its face. It was just amazing. I've never seen anything like that.
Super cool. Thanks for sharing.
I'll jump in and say something too. Gratitude is great, but because gratitude is the transcendent emotion for the metal energy, I need to do this more. But I decided for a little bit that I would do a meditation on all of the transcendent emotions for all 5 elements. And that can be really powerful too. So the gratitude, the happiness, but then also, so like for instance, fire is love. So looking for things that you love, people that love you, and taking, I mean, there's kind of gratitude with that, being grateful for it. Like water element is wisdom and understanding. And so taking a moment just to think of what are the new insights I had today. And then also taking the moment to be grateful for those insights. And then the earth energy has multiple, but the one I usually go with is nurturing. So what are ways that I was able to nurture other people? What are ways that people were able to nurture me? Also, and once again, always being grateful for every single one of these. And then wood, of course, is kindness and compassion. So what are the examples that I've seen? And it may be in a news story, or it may be, it may not even be a one-on-one, but what is the evidence of kindness and compassion that I've seen in my day today? So just throwing that out there if anybody wants to take it to the next level.
Yes, Lenora. Oh, that was a yes from Lenora. Put in the proper words. Thank you. Anybody else? Cool. That brings us to cool stuff I found over the week. And one of them is quite long, so I'll start with the short one. I thought this was a really cool quote. The quickest way to succeed is to start now and figure it out as you go. You can't learn to drive in a parked car. I'll read it again. The quickest way to succeed is to start now and figure it out as you go. You can't learn to drive in a parked car. Yes, you can study. Yes, you can watch videos. Yes, you can, and those are all good, good things, especially when you're going to do something. If you can find somebody who's already done what you want to do, awesome. Re-engineer, engineer how they did it, figure out how they did it, ask questions, research, and then do it their way, only better. Any input on that? Anybody want to share anything? Yes, no, maybe? Now I've got okay. The other one, Tina, my wife, sent this to me, and it's a list called Things You're Allowed to Do. And it's prefaced with, this is a list of things you're allowed to do that you thought you couldn't or didn't even know you could. I haven't tried everything on this list, mainly due to its cost, but you'd be surprised at how cheap most of the things on this list are, especially the free ones. Note that you can replace hire or buy with barter for or find a DIY guide to nearly everywhere below. An example, you can clean the bathroom in exchange for your housemate doing a couple hours research for you. So, learning and decision making we'll start out with. Hire a researcher or an expert consultant. I hired a researcher whom you can and should hire too to help write this very post, which is largely about how to hire people to do things. And they can help validate whether a crazy idea is possible, do epistemic spot checks of your work, map the landscape of opinions on a topic, write literature surveys, find people worth talking to about a potential topic, and writing briefs about them. Opposition or market research, find options for big purchases like houses or insurance, compile data sets, find ungoogleable things. When I first read that, I was like, how many of us are old enough to know that, or remember when Google things wasn't even a thing? And now we're finding ungoogleable things, like all the stuff that we had to research before Google. And this list, I'm not going to read all of these because it's a pretty long list, but I'll go through and read some of the other one. Ask obvious questions. Francine said, if you need a data person, I can hire out Simon. Yes. Ask him how much you're allowed to charge for him. Notice how I said that. Ask questions online. I've done that a number of times. You know those answers you enjoy reading on Stack Exchange, Reddit, Quora, etc.? Someone had to ask those questions. It could be you. If you're embarrassed by the question, it's easy to be anonymous. Run surveys. Buy advertisement. Run genuine randomized control trials on yourself. Buy research or data. Hire a graphic designer to turn your appalling sketches into beautiful diagrams or slides. A lot of that can be done on Fiverr and things of that nature. Host small gatherings or conferences on topics that you care about. These are much easier to set up than you think, especially in the age of Zoom. Hire a tutor. Language tutors are surprisingly affordable and better than any app. Wyzant and many other sites exist for general tutoring. For niche tutoring, you can try general freelance sites like Fiverr or Upwork. Services like Sharpest Minds exist for professional training. Now, I'd never heard of that, but I think I might reach out to see what they're doing, what they're paying, who's hiring. Hire someone just as an excuse to make yourself complete a project. Sure, you could proofread your own document, but if you hire a proofreader, you have to actually deliver them something at some point. Interpersonal. Say, I don't know, or I don't have an opinion when you don't. I've gotten much better at that. Not tell white lies. You can be nice and tell the truth at the same time, especially to kids when they annoy you. Buy goods and services from your friends. It's not weird unless you make it weird. Everyone knows some starving artist and needs to buy holiday gifts. Don't apply to every service, obviously. Don't take out loans from your friends. Travel to friends just to visit them. This one kind of caught me off guard. Live in multiple places with multiple people. Rent spare rooms or couches part-time in multiple homes. Arrange your own timeshare system with friends. An example, a group of 9 friends can rent three-bedroom apartments in 3 cities. This also gives you flexibility over which jurisdiction you're taxed in. If you're in a relationship, don't forget to ask them out on a date. Hire a matchmaker even for your partner, as in, where should we go? What should we do? Because sometimes you get caught in a rut. Get couples therapy. Support and accountability. Hire a coach for your professional area, personal trainer, nutritionist, meditation guide. Visit a physical therapist. Buy task-specific devices that prevent multitasking. Kindle, FreeWrite Traveler, dedicated music players, dedicated notebooks for specific purposes like day planners, exercise logs, etc. Making the most of your resources. Again, literally, I am skimming over this, but the amount of stuff that I saw in here was just making the most of your resources. First, figure out how much of your time is really, how much your time is really worth to you, and then act and spend accordingly. Modify your stuff. Tape over annoying LED lights. Remove logos. Write in books. Rip off tags. Rotate your monitor to portrait. Repair your stuff or get it repaired. Like shoes, clothes, luggage, outdoor gear, furniture, car. You can buy at-home car care. Cleaning services, laundry services, nannies over daycare. Write on a Post-it note affixed to a greeting card rather than on the greeting card itself, so the recipient can put the Post-it note somewhere else and reuse your card. Hallmark just got mad at me. Ask for free upgrades or coupons. I learned that a long time ago. I have no problem because my answer to them is always, if you don't ask, the answer is always the same. When they say no, if you've done it enough times, it doesn't bother you anymore. But the amount of stuff that I've gotten, full on story. Yesterday I was picking up flooring for the remodel on the apartment. And it was basically a pallet of flooring. So while I was waiting for the forklift driver to show up, I noticed that there was a barn door, a barn style, sliding interior door sitting on the floor, on the ground outside of the building. And so when they showed up, I just said, out of curiosity, how bad might you want to get rid of that door over there? And the guy goes, oh, that's an old display door. You want it? Yeah. How much? Get it out of here. It's garbage. Fwee! On the truck. And that stuff happens to me all the time because I'm asking all the time. At checkout, you can just ask, do you have any coupons I can apply to this? You'd be amazed at how many times they have it or they know the discount code that they can type in if you only ask. Treat fines like payments. I thought this one was brilliant. An example, you park illegally and you let yourself think of the expected value of the fine as a parking fee. Obviously, don't break the rules that matter, like blocking a fire exit. But if you're parked somewhere or double parked and you get a ticket and it costs you $20, well, you got to pay. It only cost you $20 to have a really close parking spot for however long you were there. That could be a value. At-home vet care, which is awesome. Generate your own audiobooks. Generate your own ebooks. Get verbal things written down. Transcribeme.com, otter.ai. Personal assistant services. They got a whole list of those things. Hire a professional stylist. For some people that are style, what do you call it, fashion challenged. I was lucky because I grew up in a house where my mother sold Mary Kay at the exact same time my sister sold Avon in a town of 187 people. Yes, we curbed the entire market. And I learned all about goop. And I used to be a fall, but I used to be a winter, but now I'm moving into a fall. That's where all the makeup ladies are like, oh my gosh, he learned the inside scoop. He does know makeup. There's so much stuff in here. If you guys would like a copy of this, let me know and I'll figure out a way that I can forward it to you. Because like literally, I'm 75% of the way through it. That's it. Any input on those? Oh, is that it? Yes. Yes, correct. Milan. Oh, Francine, you're awesome. Research winning. Ta-da! Yes, that's the answer.
I've worked for a research company, so I know how to find stuff on the internet.
Yeah, so if you guys found any of these things as interesting as I did, I would even recommend printing it out and start highlighting stuff that you want to start going after. So that brings us to the top of my hour. And for those of you that are watching the recording of this, this is where I turn it into open mic session. And if anybody has any questions or something they would like help with, we open it up to the panel and everybody attending and see what we got. Otherwise, I continue to chase squirrels and answer questions. But with this being your guys' time, who's got something that they would like to ask or something?
Yeah, I've got something I could run past you.
Cool.
I got a friend who complains about her mother, but she does the exact same thing that her mother does.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm always sitting looking at her, just absolutely incredulous. And I never say anything. And I'd best not, because if I ever do, she's just going to go ballistic on me.
Okay.
I saw a thing online today. It's probably not true, but it was something like most people stop maturing at 7. And by the time you get to age 26, unless you have some like major life trauma, you just never change.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I could say that probably applies in this case.
Okay.
And yeah, she has absolutely no idea. And I don't know what to say. I mean, I just, wouldn't mind giving her some frame of reference. So not to cut her down, but to, take some of the heat off her mom maybe, or help her to understand, or maybe, they could get a little bit closer or something. I'm not sure. But she does exactly the same thing that her mother does. So how do you handle that? Is there any way to very delicately kind of hint around and let somebody know that's what they're doing?
Oh, who would like to go first? I'll do the follow-up bat, because this is so common. I have had so many clients that have had to deal with this, and there's a ton of different ways to approach this, but I want to hear from the rest of you first, because this is open mic. This is where I get to go last. Yes, Lenora, I saw that. She's like, no, no, maybe no. Ooh, dagger. You're muted.
I understand that, Linda, very well. It really depends. Are you wanting to open it? Some things that I will, depending on who it is and depending on the situation, I will dance around it. But if my input is not personally requested, I will not offer. I usually will say something along the lines of, like, wow, that's really interesting that you noticed. And then I'll try and change the topic, like, wow, what else did you notice? And help them realize what they're noticing is extremely active in them. So for example, if somebody's I have a person in my life and they will be like, they're so judgmental. They're so judgmental. I'm kind of like, well, sometimes they might be mirrors of things that are a part of us. And that's okay that we're judgmental sometimes. There's a time and a place for it, and we're all human. But, there's also really good qualities. Tell me about your friend so-and-so, and help them realize, like, that's a part of them. That's okay. But this is a part of them too. And help them to start to notice that it is a part of them. And it's like, they call it shadow work and these ugly things that are a part of us, but letting them literally know that, yes, they're judgmental. And so
that's really funny. I never caught the irony in that before, of somebody calling somebody else judgmental, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, I never caught the irony before until just now. That's really funny.
There you go. Happy to help.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to take a stab? Yes, no? Well, again, I've dealt with this many, many times, and especially when you grow up in a small little village like I did, where you know everybody's history 3 generations back, and they tell you how much they hate about what their parents do, and then they do it exactly like you or like they did. One of the things that I learned a long time ago was if I know their parents' name, which most of the time I did, and they did something like their parents that they said they hated, I would say, say for just to grab a name, Steve is their dad, and they would do something. I go, absolutely, Steve. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, you sounded just like your dad. You know that part that you really hate about him? Sounded just like him. You do that very well. I bet, no wonder it pisses you off when you do that. Whoops, Facebook, rewind. No wonder it makes you irritated when he does that to you, because, yeah, that's pretty irritating. And you just start doing those little holding, I call it holding up a mirror. Da, 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 da. Just like the way you hate it when your mother does that. Da, 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 da.
Oh my God. I'm laughing. Yeah. And she'll bite my head off.
Well, I just say, I'm just telling you, you're doing a great job, because you obviously learned, why do we cut the ends off the ham?
Because grandma did it.
Because grandma did it. Well, why did grandma do it?
Because her grandma did it.
Great-grandma did it. Well, why did great-grandma do it? Because it was the only pan the ham fit in. Oh,
Yeah.
And now we got pans this big, and we're still cutting the ends of the ham off, only at,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to give that some more thought. If I ever get the chance to sandwich that in there edgewise, I have to walk on eggshells. But I kind of have to walk on eggshells with this lady anyway. It's like, yeah.
And that goes, I'll let Lenora, that goes right back to the part where I was talking about the cost of venting and complaining with empaths. We soak up that energy, and a lot of those people that do that don't understand what that does to us. Especially the ones that I lovingly refer to as ask holes. They are constantly asking for advice so that they can do just the opposite, and then complain that it didn't work. And after a while, you're just like, you complained to me for an hour. And I finally got to cut in and speak for a few minutes and give you 7 solutions. For each of those 7 solutions, you gave me 3 reasons each one won't work, until I finally was like, well, you're screwed. Well, what about that solution number 3 that you gave? Why won't that work? I'm like, I told you it would work. You told me why it wouldn't. Why don't you try that one? Well, I don't know. But if you do that enough, you finally set up enough of a precedence to where you have the ability when they start to go, look, do you want to just vent? Are you just looking to vent, or are you looking for solutions? Because I'm not in the mood for the vent without, I'm a fix-it person. I'm a solutions person. That's all I know how to do. If you bring your car into my place and tell me how bad it's running, and I take the time to show you everything that's broken, and then you get mad at me because I pointed it out to you, and then you drive away with nothing fixed, then I spend the rest of the night wondering who you're going to kill on the road because you haven't fixed the car. Where did I come up with that? After managing a shop for a while. And yes, I actually had a couple of times where I refused to let people take a ride with the person who had the car. And one was a wife and her 2 kids, a mom and 2 kids. And the husband got mad at me because he showed up in the wintertime in Minnesota in a blizzard with bald tires, brakes that were metal on metal, shocks were gone, and the car was barely running. And he wanted to drive an hour to another town. And I said, no, you can't drive this anywhere, especially with your wife and kids. I can't stop you from going out and killing yourself. But the problem is you're going to be on the roads in an area where I have friends and family on the same road. And he lost his damn mind. I told his wife, I'll call a cab. There's a hotel, it's $30 a night. I'll get you a cab over there, and if you can't afford the hotel, I'll spring for that, because I would rather invest $50 into keeping you guys alive for at least one night. So sometimes you have to really get in their face, because most of them have no idea they do it. They have no idea that they are just like the worst part of their parents. And it is what it is. But I hold up the mirror quite a bit.
Well, she really has no idea.
Yep. And a lot of times they don't. But what I've learned is, what if you hold up the mirror enough without being jerkish about it, like, oh my God, you're just a jerk, just like your dad, look at this. Or just going, wow, that's a great impersonation of your father. You've been practicing that for a while. They're like, oh, I'm nothing like him. I'm like, no, actually, you do this to me all the time. All the time. I don't know if you complain about him doing that for something to talk about, or if you complain about him doing that, not realizing that you do it just like him all the time.
Yeah, in this case, I'm certain she doesn't realize.
Mm-hmm. But that's where she may not realize, because nobody has ever been strong enough to point it out.
Yeah, well, do so at your own peril, that's for sure.
But if that's the case, if they're that fragile and that attacking, that's like, allowing a pit bull to run around. And most pitties are amazing, but if you got one that you're like, just don't touch it because it will tear your arm off.
Mhm.
At some point, I'm like, you know what? I got other, I don't need someone around me like that.
Yeah, well, we don't spend a whole lot of time together. And
Good.
yeah, yeah. And if I can keep her just, on track, we have a lot of fun for a couple of days. And then part ways for a while. But yeah. I just kind of wonder, for some reason I was thinking about it the other day. And yeah. She's a tough one.
Well, and it's even harder when it's friends and family, because they're close enough to throw the bigger daggers.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I've had to do it with family members and close friends,
Yeah.
and you're just like, but that's one of the, I'm trying to remember who and how it was said, but the gist of it is, oh, Alan Jackson's song, Fountain of Youth. And one of the things he put in there, he goes, I've learned that as I get older, I have less friends, but you learn that it's not how many you have, as long as the ones you have your back. I would rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies.
Got you there.
Yep. And the fact that, 7 billion people on the planet, and for those of you that are OCD or CDO like me, there are times I don't need to know the exact number. 7 billion is close enough, give or take a couple 100 million, we're good. But sometimes, even like on that list, I think we forget how easy it is to meet people. We spend so much of our time scurrying around and doing things that we forget that there are other human beings around us. And now, I mean, look at here. Francine's from Australia. There are ways to meet people and spend time with and get to know and grow your community in different ways. One of the things one of my asshole friends was complaining they had gone through a life change and just couldn't meet any new people because everybody they knew was married or had kids or blah, 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 blah. And I said, then meetups. There's no decent meetups around here. I said, then start one. If for no other reason, it'll give you a reason to go out and do something. And start with something easy. Like beer drinkers, beer lovers meetup. That shouldn't be very hard to find people. I don't want to be around a bunch of drunks. Well, then pick a time of day or an activity where the right type of drunks will show up. But here's one of the things that you can do. If you start a meetup, you're allowed to have 3 different groups that you control. Pick 3 diverse things that you enjoy and make all of the activities happen at the same place at the same time. Tina and I met, my wife and I met through Tall Singles Group in San Diego. The guy, Bill, who put it together, also ran international traveler group and cat lovers group. So it's tall singles, internationals, and cat lovers. And we would all end up at the same place for the same event. And a lot of times it was just dances with no cover charge. And we had a couple of different groups that were competing for tall singles that, you know, oh my God, I heard that they allow anybody of any height in there. And so I made Bill rewrite the description of the group to say tall singles group, all people of all different heights welcome, because some tall people are attracted to short people. Some short people are attracted to tall people. If you want to see where tall people are, we'll be here. And then the cat people would show up and they're like, are we in the right place? Yes. Do you like cats? Yes. Do you like tall people? I don't know. Do you like to travel? I don't know. Then you're part of the cat group. We'd have some where like, I'm a tall person who loves cats and travels. Hey, good. You qualify for all three groups. You're here. But I told them, if you start a group like that, it's an excuse to set up a date and time to get out of the house. Unless you're one of the ones I showed up was a foodie group. And each member of the group would pick a night where they would host in their house and come up with a recipe that they liked. And they would teach everybody how to prepare the recipe. Well, what if nobody shows up? You got the ingredients. Make your meal. But what if too many people show up? They get a small sample and a recipe. Well, what if somebody shows up and doesn't like it? Oh my God. What if the house gets landed on by a plane that fell out of the sky? It won't matter. Just do something. So how many different meetup groups could we be part of? Could we start? Could we reach out and meet people? I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys know I don't have a whole lot of problem talking to people in public. Francine, in French we have a saying, if my aunt had some, she would be my uncle. There. Woo. Yes. Yes, Francine.
When I got divorced, I felt quite lonely because he was kind of a bit of a manipulator and cut all my friends off. Well, I cut all my friends off to please him. Anyway, so when I was single again, I started a group, but it was divorced people with children, where the meetup will be with the children, not just without the children.
Yes.
And it was such a huge success. Then within the first 18 months, 4 people got married. It was really great because then people met also the other children. It was more family orientated. It was more clean fun. And and it was cheap as well because we used to go to places I couldn't afford at the time to go to fancy places. So we went and did children-friendly outings, and generally for really affordable or cheap or even free. It was really great. I really enjoyed that, and apparently it still carries on today.
Yay! Look what you started. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because a friend and I was saying, it would be nice to meet some guys who are okay with children, and then it just came like that.
Yep.
Because my ex-husband never came to pick up my son, so I had to set my son every single weekend. So I couldn't, I didn't have babysitters. My parents lived in France; they were too far, so
Yep.
I had to kind of walk around it, and I found a way. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I didn't marry one of them.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I met some that worked, even worse.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. There are so many different ways, B&I groups, uh, Chamber of Commerce, there's tons of groups out there that are looking for people. And it's the same thing for, if you want to get practice with your speaking skills, the amount of groups that are hungry for speakers. The main rule with that is you don't go there with a sales pitch. Take the time to figure out what they're interested in. And how can you connect it to something that you're passionate about or would like to teach more about or to talk about? And, if you're interested and you present information that they're interested in, they will come up to you and ask for more stuff. So there's other opportunities. There are so many things that, we make so much harder than they have to be. And I've been guilty of it. That's why I can talk about it. Because I'm like, oh, I used to think that it was really hard to do this. And then I had somebody show me how easy it was. And I was like, oh, all right. So we're chasing squirrels all over the place here. Does anybody have any other ones so that?
Oh, so it kind of changing topics completely, but well, it's kind of related. So I've been thinking a lot lately about, and just kind of get everybody's opinion on this. So some of the things that bother us are things we need to change about ourselves. So the analogy I would use is, sometimes we might have a tumor that needs to be removed, but also sometimes the reason why we might be struggling is just because we're different, we're several standard deviations from the mean. So the example would be, somebody who's 7 feet tall may struggle a lot in living their life, but the solution to that isn't to amputate their legs. So I'm kind of trying to figure out, how do you know when something in your life is something that you genuinely should be changing versus something in your life is you're 7 feet tall and you just need to figure out how to live in a world that's a little bit different and get along, if that makes any sense. Kind of out there, but.
Yep. I've got an answer for that. Anybody else want to go first, please? All right. Here's my take on that. And the last I heard this was presented by Dr. David Snyder. Is it a mindset? Is it a skill set? And when you added in the 7 foot tall, is it a hardware issue? There are people that want to be taller. There are tall people that want to be shorter. Not a whole lot we can do about there. But if it's a mindset versus a skill set issue, then you have an area to look at, approach, evaluate. If you're having troubles with money because you never learned finance, that's one thing. if you have troubles with money because you're wasting it on tons of stupid stuff and you're making a lot of money, but you're just not saving it, that's another issue. Anybody else got any input on those? Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, how to tell is if it's serving you well, then why in the world would you want to change it? But if it's not serving you well, if it's something that's detrimental to your life, then yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not. I'm a little mystified in terms of I can't quite wrap my head around the part about whether you, how do you know whether you want to change it? I'm a little confused about that.
Any input? Francine?
I don't have the answer about why you want to change it. What I know for me, what has worked in the past is to kind of put things onto paper and write my feelings about it. Like, I have one of those, I don't have it here, but I have one of those sheets where you actually go through things. I think where you kind of write things down how you feel and then you go deeper in it. I will look for it and maybe post it next time. And it's a full exercise spreadsheet that I have, not on this computer, on the other one. Actually, I think I have it printed somewhere. Yeah, it's an exercise I go through. I think I did a course and I kept that particular stuff. It's to help me when I don't know what's going on, if it's my mindset or if it's my skill set or if it's a hardware issue. And then you kind of drill down into it more and more. And then suddenly things come out that you're not aware what happened. I used to be kind of jealous of other people because I used to judge them for something else, but then I realized that I was very jealous that they were better than me at some stuff. Even I was better they were better at communication than I was, versus I was better at working, but sometimes communication is key. It's a higher valued skill set, and I didn't know I was jealous, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It's often important to kind of drill into it. I'll look for that sheet. I have it somewhere.
Cool, thank you. Lenora? You're muted.
I got like lots going on.
Okay.
So me and Francine are on the same page because I literally wrote journal it out. So I in my head, I'm coming up with an example because it's easier for me to grasp onto it. So for the hardware, are you accepting of it? And do you want to change it? If you want to change it, how does it feel? Or are you like, you know what? I'm good. I like where I am. This is fine. This is good for me. And I've been pushing against it for so long that I thought I had to change it. And you know what? Shit, I really like it. So and settling in that acceptance of it and acclimating to it, or accepting that it is, and how else can you look at it? How else can the skill set change for it, or the mind, the mindset? I think that was the other one that you had mentioned. And really feeling into it. And I found that the more active it was in my brain, like if I was really stuck on something and it was playing for 24 of 24 hours of the day, I really needed to just go into it and sit down with pen and paper and probably a box of tissues and work through it. And it didn't take 5 minutes. It just really sucked at the time working through it, but then you were able to have a little bit more direction, or at least I was able to have a little bit more direction and come through that component. So in that dark tunnel, there was a light at the end, and then you head into another tunnel, and it just kind of goes from there. But there is light, and that is a good thing.
Yes. And ironically, what does that process kind of sound like? Does it sound a little bit like drilling down to values and criteria? Yeah. The cool part is, especially when you've got a worksheet, like with what Francine was mentioning, so that you can drill down on your own, which for those of you that are learning how to do values and criteria elicitation would be a good worksheet to figure out how to work with others on values and criteria as well. And if you're watching this recording and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can reach out to me and I will help you, because that's a whole nother class. Part of what I call the trifecta: Echo Talk, 3 Magic Question, Values and Criteria Elicitation. And those that have been around Planet TJ long enough know that I talk about it all the time, and most of the time, if I'm not talking about it all the time. So there's that. Anybody got any more input or angles or ahas or epiphanies to add to that? No? Well, we got 25 minutes left. What else does anybody have anything else that they would like to add, open, ask? Any squirrels you want released? Release the squirrels!
I'll keep going. Another thing I've been thinking a lot about, and if other people have stuff, I mean, feel free to jump in and I won't monopolize.
That's what this is all about, yes.
Because another question I have is, so sometimes when we're healing, there are some people who they get home from the hospital, they've just had surgery, and they're told to take it easy for 6 weeks. And they dive in after 3 weeks and they start trying to do everything. And then you've got the people that are told to take it easy for 6 weeks, and 6 months later, they're still sitting on the couch. As healers, because a lot of what we do is, more emotional rather than physical, so you may not be able to see it. Like, how can we be careful to make sure that we're not encouraging people who are in that first 6 weeks to go too far, but at the same time, making sure we're not encouraging the person that's sitting on the couch 6 months later to stay on the couch, if that makes sense?
Well, being I've dealt with a number of people with that and have worked with athletes, one of the biggest things that I've learned from that is a cross between education and, I would call it, future pacing. And the education is going to be getting them to learn as much as they can about the injury, their body, as to what has happened, what it takes for their body to regenerate for that area, what it takes to properly bring it back up to speed without breaking it. And then future pacing, where they want to be at a certain point, and then reverse engineering how to safely get there. Now, for the people that are still, milking the process 6 months later, that's going to come down to values and criteria as well. Now we've gotten past the point where your body is healed. Why is it important for you to stay in first gear? Are they doing it because they're lazy, or they're doing it because they don't want to go back to a job that they hate? Are they doing it out of deep set fear that was put in because they watched somebody else have the exact same operation and it didn't work out, and it was twice as bad when they had to have it redone the second time? You got to drill down and figure out what is the underlying motivator for why they're still in the same place. But more often than not, the clients that I'm working with are the ones where I have to help them maintain running in first gear long enough to not damage the repairs. Because if they came to me, they're like, I'm losing my mind. They're telling me I can't do anything for 6 months. I can't stop doing anything for 2 days. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, then we have to go in and I have them study a muscle chart and skeletal chart, and depending on what they're getting worked on, like, you're going to have time to research this stuff. Maybe this would be a good time when you have to idle in first gear to learn more about your body, especially what you just had worked on. How is it done? I know the doctor gave you a glazed overview of what they were doing, but that still doesn't tell you exactly what was done to your body in doing that. What other parts of your body are supported by that? If they had to cut through your abdominal area, well, that's your core. What all got moved around, cut, displaced or whatever? If they rebuilt your shoulder, what ligaments had to be sewn together? How long does it normally take for those to grow back together? What kind of range of motion? What is your body doing or losing during the time that you are forced to drive in first? What other exercises can you do with the rest of your body carefully so that you don't lose performance across the entire body? If you had your shoulder reconstructed, you still have your legs to take care of, your core to take care of, and your other arm to take care of. How do you transfer the load without injuring them as well? So there's a lot of different ins and outs, ups and downs that you want to be cognitive of, and then reaching out and educating yourself about from the physical therapist side. What do they have to know to help you in your therapy for whatever it is you're going through? Does that help at all? Anybody got any questions or inputs on that? And by the way,
Yes,
hey,
it does.
Elijah, glad you could join us.
Good morning.
Good morning. All the way from the UK. Glad you could join us, brother.
It's so ridiculously hot here. I got up to get some water and I was like, oh, TJ's on.
How hot is it?
It's like 83, 85 degrees at like 1:30 in the morning.
That's centigrade?
Yeah, right. Imagine. No, that's I did the conversion for you.
Yes. Well, I'm in balmy Texas right now, and today it was 110 degrees, and tonight it's going to be right around that 85, 87 degrees at the coldest.
Yeah, but like you guys have air conditioning and stuff because that happens often enough, right? Like no home here has air conditioning because like it never gets that hot, and so we're just completely unprepared for it.
Oh, I get it. I remember I grew up in farmland, Minnesota, back in the day, and yeah, 200-degree weather spread in Minnesota, and yeah, we didn't even have the really nice ceiling fans we got now. We had open windows, and I get it. Yes, I feel for you. Yep, I just pulled up our deal for the week. Triple digits for the entire week, actually for the entire month.
Elijah, how much is that in centigrade?
Right now it's like 27 degrees Celsius or centigrade in like I said, at like 1:45 a.m.
Did you have like
today
40
during,
degrees? Is that right?
yeah, during the day today it was like 37, 38 degrees. And then 10 degrees more on the trains and in the underground. Do you know what I mean? In the tunnel. So like we're approaching like 50 Celsius and stuff, which is insane. People fainting left, right, and center.
Yep.
But I don't want to be one of those guys who complains about the heat, because like I wait all year round for the heat. You know what I mean? It's finally here, and I don't want to complain about it.
Well,
like I would rather
we're having the coldest weather ever. Lucky we've got a great heater, but yeah, we had ice. First time ever in Australia. But yeah, it's the opposite. Normally we get that kind of summer, and we're used to it because we have air cons and stuff like that, so it's all right. But yeah, lucky we have a nice heater because it's working 24/7.
Yeah, I haven't been on the scale lately, but I've been working out in the shop during the day and drinking water like a fish. And yeah, it's amazing. I can drink 3 gallons of water and only have to use the bathroom once. But yeah, flushing out the system well. Well, we got 13 minis left. Who's got something else that we can throw on the table and see what we can come up with? Wow, tough crowd tonight.
Really? You want us to find something to complain about?
Yes, please.
Okay, give me a minute.
Otherwise, let's see what we got here. If you guys come up with a question or something.
I have a question. For the group? Now I have anxiety. I'm like, am I still unmuted? Best tips for your elevator speech. Go.
Define application just a little bit closer, a little bit finer.
I'm specifically thinking for 60 seconds, like BNI intro, business networking intro. But anything you guys got, go for it.
I've
Well,
got
a couple for you.
Go for it.
Make everything a story. And the story shows them what the good is in it for them. Everybody loves a story.
Yep.
It's got to be, kind of snappy. And you should be able to deliver it with enthusiasm, and some verve. So it should be, it doesn't have to be fun, but it could be exciting. Yeah, so just kind of snappy, and there should be an underlying story, and the story should illustrate why this thing, whatever it is interesting to or will help those people.
Something I would recommend too, and the actual pitch itself, I don't have a lot because I'm not that great on it, but give it a lot of times. The more you practice it, the better it gets. And if you need a place to do it, just hop on Clubhouse and go into rooms and introduce yourself.
Francine?
There's a gentleman. I'm trying to think of his name. Yeah, I have a problem with. I think his name is Robin something. He has a course on storytelling, and it's actually really good. I'm actually doing it at the moment, so I'm trying to go. Oh, there we are. I found it. His name is Robin Manuel. If you YouTube him, he's got a storytelling course on YouTube. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm on 4 or 5 at the moment.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for freebies. Yeah, he's brilliant. He does the code with one of those famous a British conversational hypnosis guy. What's his name? He's a lawyer. I can't think of his name now.
Starts with Mr.
Ledo something Kovsky. Yeah,
Ego.
Ego, that's it. Yeah, he does. It's with Ego, and it's fantastic.
Another thing I would recommend, start a, trying to remember what Dr. David calls it, like a file list. And
Swipe file?
Oh, what?
Swipe file?
One more time.
Swipe file? Maybe that's not what you're going for.
Yes. So that you have 5 or 6 different ones for different scenarios that you've practiced. That'll give you more flexibility and more confidence in whatever environment you get tossed into. And when it comes to BNI, Jason Lynette gave me one that absolutely I was so disgustedly impressed when he said that. I was like, wow. And his is always make sure, if at all possible, you go last. And you listen to what everybody else does. That way, when you get up, your story isn't, hi, this is my name, this is my company, this is what my company does, and this is what I think that I would like to offer to you. Instead, he gets up and he goes, well, I do things like, and then he goes around to a bunch of the people that he wants as clients and makes a solution, a possible solution for what they might be dealing with. And at the very end, he goes, and my name is Jason Lynette, and you can talk to me afterwards. But it's like, yeah, I help people with roofing companies deal with problem clients. And I help chiropractors find different ways to word their advertising so they can get better customers. And he just personalizes things that he can do for the people that are in the room, and then simply finishes with his name and said, if you have any more questions, I'll be around. So it's not even like it's informational about him. It's how many possible solutions could he come up with for potential issues for people in the room, and let them see him as the solution provider. And with all the stuff that I do, being you guys know me, people ask me what I do, and for the longest time, I was like, we don't have that much time. I could give you a list of the things I don't do, be a little shorter. But I've learned to just sum it up as I'm a professional problem solver. And that gives them enough of a, and if they're interested, we can talk. If they're just asking, like the people that say, hey, how you doing? And they don't care what your response is, well, then it doesn't matter. Five minutes for responses, questions, and additions to that.
Thank you guys. That was awesome. I'm so glad it was recorded.
Well, anybody got something to finish off the last 5 minutes? I had a squirrel run across the road and I could only hold on to him so long, and now I've lost him off in the woods somewhere. So
It was probably more than a 5-minute squirrel anyway.
well, my squirrels have squirrels, so
Exactly. And lots of nuts.
for those of you that are watching the recording and have no idea, yeah, you'll just stick around Planet TJ. You'll understand. Squirrel. I got a whole collection of them. Francine, you had your hand up.
I was never sure what actually squirrel meant. I think I just understood it now.
Oh.
It's like a thought that just comes, and then you kind of either hold it or you miss it. I just got it. So it's taken me how many years?
It was made very popular from a Pixar movie called Up, where the guy made a collar for his dog so his dog could talk. And you know how dogs are, and he goes, "Hi, my name is Doug, and I really like squirrel." That's how I'll be on a thought process of something, and all of a sudden it'd be like, squirrel. Things just pop up. Sometimes I catch on to them and I can present them to you, and sometimes it's like, squirrel, got away. I was going to say something, and it's deep in the woods already. Well, that took us up to 3 minutes left, and that should give me enough time to almost be able to tell you guys how much I appreciate you. I appreciate you showing up. I appreciate you being part of my tribe. I appreciate your input and your questions and giving me a reason to do this 29 times in a row. And I'll be able to make the next one, but the one after that, I'm going to have a substitute teacher stepping in, because I will be in the air flying back from Vegas. And so I have asked a very talented person to step in and take over, and I trust that you all will show up and show her all the wonderful support that you offer me. So anybody know who I'm talking about? Maybe she could smile and say a few things. And
if I can unmute, we'll get there. Yeah, so if you guys want to hear about anything specific, definitely let TJ know, and we will do our best to chase all the squirrels that are in the land that evening and make sure that we represent Triple T the best way possible.
Yay!
And we
Seeing
can go
as
on
how I've-
squirrel
What's
roundup.
that?
We can go on squirrel roundup.
There you go. The squirrel roundup of all of us in these parts, not at Hypnothoughts Live. So
And even
we'll
better
make it-
yet,
we'll make it worth your while.
yeah, we can talk about TJ when he's not here.
As long as you record it, I'm all fine with it. I figured I owed her a little talk time after the amount of times I've tossed her under the bus of, well, we seem to have somebody who is very astute in this. Lenora, teach for us quick. And she'd be like, and those of you that were there, how did she do?
Incredibly well.
Incredibly well.
Thank you.
So I feel very confident that you will all be in good hands. But we're at the top of the hour, which is where I get to remind everybody to please put in comments, good or bad. I can handle them for the most part. Share this with people, direct them here. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, all the above. I don't do this for me, actually. Part of it is so that I can get my brains out on some type of recording, but I forgot to mention I got one bit of really cool feedback that somebody that was able to be here for a couple of them had a shift change, so they can't be here. And they told me that they still watch them. And there was one in particular that they shared with a family member who helped. And I was like, that's what it's about. So thank you for giving me a platform to do this. Someone ears to hear, feedback that I feed off of, putting up with my collection of squirrels. And let me tell you how much I adore and love all of you. Thanks again. See you in 7, not in 14, but definitely in 21. As long as the plane goes past the crash site and lands safely. Gotcha. All right, time to go. Have a wonderful week. See you in 7. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Night, TJ. Thank you.
Welcome.